Hi parents! Today's benchmark that we're going to discuss is context clues. Context clues means that your child can figure out what a word means based on the sentences around that word. And we've been practicing that throughout the year by having me read aloud to them books that are harder than their reading level. And I purposely don't stop when I'm reading to them so they can start developing that skill of figuring out what words mean based on the context of the story. So I'm going to give you an example of what I want them to do on the test. So this is a book we've been reading in class called Matilda by Roald Dahl, and there's lots of great vocabulary in here. So I'm going to read a sentence, and I'm going to tell you, if this was on the test, what I would like your child to do. So we're talking about the antagonist, the baddie in this book, and that is Miss Trunchbull. There was an aura of menace about her, even at a distance. And when she came up close, you could almost feel the dangerous heat radiating from her as from a red-hot rod of metal. So if this was on the test, they might underline the word radiating, and your child has to try to figure out what that word means, and they'll give them 4 answer choices. And what I want your child to do is take all 4 words and try to insert them back in place of that word they underlined and see if it makes sense. And we're working on saying maybe, or X if it's not even a possibility, so that they can start ruling out answers that are obviously not right, and they'll have a better chance if they aren't sure of guessing between the last 2. So say we had that sentence and the options were talking to, coming out, containing, or wanting. So I would take each one and plug it back in. So you could almost feel the dangerous heat talking to from her as a red hot rod of metal. That doesn't make sense, so cross it out. You could almost feel, when she came up close, you could almost feel the dangerous heat coming out from her as from a red hot rod of metal. That sounds good, so that's a maybe. You could almost feel the dangerous heat containing from her as from a red hot rod of metal. That doesn't make sense. X. You could almost feel the dangerous heat wanting from her. I don't think so. So I'm going to go with coming out. That makes sense. And that's what your child's going to do. They don't necessarily need to know what every single word means on this test, but they need to be able to figure out, based on the sentences around that word, what it means. And that's what the benchmark context clues is all about. And the dog we're thinking about getting is a Bernedoodle. That is the clue for today, to prove you've watched this video. Bernedoodle. Okay, bye-bye.